A couple of announcements before this video begins. Just recently uploaded a new podcast. You can find the link to it in the comments of this video. Spoke on Brandon Ingram's improvement from his rookie season to right now, his second year. And then I also ranked all of Jay-Z's albums. I went pretty deep into that one for like 30 minutes. And then also live streaming. You can find a link to my Twitch channel in the top comment of this video as well. I plan on starting to stream on Monday at noon Eastern Time, United States. Might move the time later in the day depending on how things go and how I feel about it. I plan on playing a lot of my career, just kind of hang out, have conversations with chat, and I think it should be a pretty good time. One little thing though, I do need moderators. If you are seriously interested in being a moderator for my stream, like hit up my business email. I'll leave a link to it in the top comment as well. And let's just talk about Nerlens Noel. So what the hell is going on with Nerlens Noel and the Dallas Mavericks? You figured when the Mavs traded for him that it was going to be a match made in heaven, because this is a team that has been looking for an athletic center who can play defense for a while now. Basically ever since they lost Tyson Chandler. They almost had it a few seasons ago with DeAndre Jordan. We know how that situation played out. They trade for Nerlens Noel and you think they've got their guy. And since that moment, we've had a declined contract from Nerlens. We've had his minutes be really low. I mean, Nerlens is currently playing 15 minutes a game for the Mavericks, and I think a lot of people would pick him to be a 25 to 30 minute player because of what he can do defensively. And then there's the question of, is Rick Carlisle super stubborn? Is this actually the right basketball decision? There's a whole lot of things to get into. If we just start with Nerlens Noel as a player, I mean, do the Mavericks have any reason to believe that he's just flat out not worth it? Well, defensively, I think Nerlens is pretty legit. I think if you play him at the center position on defense, he's a really good pick and roll defender. He's just good at defending outside of the paint when it comes to like stepping up on guys and switching onto a couple smaller positions. And he has the verticality to make a difference as a rim protector. Sure, he's kind of slim and he's liable to get maybe out physicaled at times, but I think the positive outweighs the negative for Nerlens in terms of defense at least. Rebounding wise, is there a belief that he'll never be like a great rebounder? Yeah, potentially. I mean, he's played 2 seasons in Philadelphia where he played basically 30 minutes a game, and he grabbed about 8 rebounds per in both of those seasons. But of course, for some of that time, he was dealing with playing like next to Jahlil Okafor, which that's not really an ideal spot for him. Nerlens should be the center around the basket all times, and you have to think that if he's just playing center all the time, he'll be able to grab more rebounds. As for his offensive game, I mean, if you're asking him to do anything besides just finish around the paint, then might have a problem on that one, really. That's about all he really does do. His offensive rebounding, I mean, he'll grab about 2.5 a game, which is actually pretty decent. He's a lob target. But I think overall, Nerlens is a quality player, and I think the Mavericks saw that as well because their recent offer that they made him, what was it, like $15 or $16 million a season, and Nerlens turned it down because he wanted a max contract? Look, Nerlens, that was a mistake on your part, dude. I don't think there's any way he gets an offer as good as that one. I believed that before this season even started, and based on how this year is going, I definitely believe that now. I mean, what did Nerlens expect? He was going to have like a 15-point, 15-rebound season and be one of the 2 or 3 best defensive players in the league? I mean, I'm a big fan of the guy, and I don't even think he's capable of that kind of a year, at least with the production. Defensively, you know, maybe he could get to that point, but I just don't think he does enough things well to really warrant that sort of a contract. But he bet on himself, and it's definitely not working. Now, if you want to go crazy conspiracy theory, is Rick Carlisle playing Nerlens less minutes because he doesn't want Nerlens to have that sort of a season, and then they can re-sign him for way less money after this year? I have to believe Rick Carlisle is not wired that way. I have to believe Mark Cuban is not as well. But at the same time, when you look at some of the guys that are playing about the same minutes as him, there's Salah Mejri, there's Dwight Powell. I mean, Mejri's 31, Dwight Powell's pretty established at this point. Nerlens is only 23. And when you're a team who's currently 2-14, and you have a 20-year-old rookie point guard, and you have Harrison Barnes who's 25, wouldn't it make sense to play the 23-year-old Nerlens Noel, who you see with the potential, rather than Dwight Powell and Mejri, when neither one of those dudes are really making a difference for you? I mean, I would just give all the minutes to Nerlens pretty much. So then it becomes, does Rick Carlisle think Nerlens just isn't that good? Well, last time I checked Nerlens' net rating, it's like super negative. But at the same time, like, given that this team sucks, I wouldn't go too crazy on net rating because, I mean, pretty much everyone's net rating is going to be pretty ugly for this team. It's just a really weird situation. It's almost as if Carlisle is doing what he's doing now to Nerlens, what he kind of did to Rondo, in the sense of, at a certain point, Carlisle just kind of makes up his mind about a player, and once his mind is made, you're pretty much in the doghouse, is what it seems like to me. But if Carlisle really doesn't want Nerlens to be there, then we're talking about, well, the problem with trading him is, because of his contract situation, he can decline any trade. And, I mean, I don't know Nerlens' mindset. I don't know if there's a team out there that would be willing to make the move for him. I mean, honestly, given that he's played on the Mavericks as well as the Sixers, if you just told him that he was going to play a lot of minutes for you, maybe he would just accept the offer anyway. So I'm talking about the Phoenix Suns, potentially. I mean, I know they just picked up Greg Monroe. I'd rather have Nerlens than Monroe, especially because they have defense problems. I mean, that's the team that immediately went into my mind. So, I mean, if they threw an offer at the Mavericks that the Mavs were at least content with, maybe you do it. And the Mavericks, they got Nerlens for what, 2 second-round picks, basically, and Justin Anderson, so it's not like they gave up some haul in order to get the guy. But on the flip side, any team that is looking to trade for Nerlens has to realize that his free agency is coming up. And I'm sure there would be some teams that would throw some money at him. I mean, the cap space situation is definitely not what it was a few seasons ago, where everyone had cap space. A lot of teams are pretty much done when it comes to salary room, but I mean, I could picture at least a decent enough bidding war. The Lakers have a lot of salary freed up. Maybe they could make a play at Nerlens if LeBron James and Paul George and Chris Paul don't pull some NBA Illuminati move where all three of them end up there. I think Nerlens could help them out a lot. Then again, they're really good on defense, so maybe he wouldn't be the right choice. I don't know. There's also a question if he could play next to Julius Randle and Larry Nance, since there's not a lot of shooting there, but maybe the Lakers would happen, maybe it wouldn't. But it's just an odd situation that it doesn't seem to have a clear resolution at the moment, because if Carlisle's not going to play him, and the Mavericks are not going to give him some huge offer because he didn't earn that huge offer based on his play this season, a lot of it because Carlisle wouldn't play him, then another team could, you know, I'd be basically repeating myself. What is my honest, prediction moving forward here? I think Nerlens maybe ends up on a different team after this season, in a sort of just go to free agency and then someone else gives him an offer that's not really that crazy, maybe like $6-7 million a season, which is kind of nuts to say, but you know, his stock is about as low as it possibly can be. I saw a thing recently where it was like the Warriors would throw some sort of an exception at him. His stock would have to be pretty low for that one to go through, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's a real thing. And then if he's on the Warriors, then that's just another guy who can defend, catch alley-oops at that center position, which is all Golden State really needs out of that 5 spot. It's kind of weird because I think Nerlens is really good. I think if you just gave him the real opportunity at the center position, no power forward next to him to get in his way and muck up the spacing, I mean, I think he's got that Tyson Chandler type of play style in him, man, and maybe it's part because of his attitude, partly because of his injury history. It just seems like NBA teams, as of this point, are not as on board with the Nerlens Noel train as I am, but we'll just have to see what happens.